So I'd like to call the May 11th Legislative and Governmental Affairs Committee to order. Pursuant to the Illinois Attorney General's guidance to public bodies on the Open Meetings Act during the COVID-19 pandemic dated July 2nd, 2020, county board members may participate without being physically present in compliance with the established provisions. So call to order, Teresa, please.
Member Chaplin?
Roll call.
Here.
Chair DeSart?
Here.
Member LaPlante?
Here.
Member Renahan?
Here.
Member Spellman? And Member Zay.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on Tuesday, April 27th?
So moved. Second.
Who was the mover?
I didn't quite see that.
LaPlante.
Okay.
LaPlante moved, and the second is Chaplin.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Member LaPlante?
Aye.
Member Renahan?
Aye.
Member Spellman? Vice Chair Zay? Member Chaplin?
Aye.
And Chair DeSart?
Aye. Thank you. That passes. And any public comment?
No, no public comment.
All right, so we'll move on to chairman's remarks and just dive in and introduce our special guest today. We are so honored to have Congresswoman Lauren Underwood here. She serves Illinois' 14th Congressional District. She is the first woman, the first person of color, and the first millennial to represent her community in Congress. She is also the youngest African-American woman to serve in the United States House of Representatives. Congresswoman Underwood serves on the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, the House Committee on Appropriations. She co-founded and co-chairs the Black Maternal Health Caucus, which elevates the Black maternal health crisis within Congress and advances policy solutions to improve maternal health outcomes and end disparities. She also serves on the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee. Prior to her election to Congress, Congresswoman Underwood worked with the Medicaid plan in Chicago to ensure that it provided high-quality, cost-efficient care. She served as a senior advisor at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Congresswoman Underwood is a graduate of the University of Michigan and Johns Hopkins University. She graduated from Neuqua Valley High School and is a lifelong Girl Scout. She resides in Naperville. Welcome, welcome, Congresswoman. Last year, Congress passed the CARES Act. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of DuPage County for that important vote. DuPage County received just over $161 million, and that allotment allowed DuPage County to provide funding to municipalities within the county, park districts, fire protection districts, townships, food banks and food pantries, homeless shelter, rental assistance to residents, grants to help small businesses in the county, and so much more. The CARES Act money from the federal treasury helped so many agencies, small businesses, and individuals here in DuPage County survive the challenges brought on by the pandemic. This year, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act, and these monies will provide the county with the resources needed to fight the COVID-19 pandemic locally and to give our nonprofits funds to provide food, shelter, utility assistance, mental health services, and so many other critical support programs to residents in need. Could you please talk about the American Rescue Plan and why you voted in favor of it and what it means to the citizens in your district?
Well, thank you, Chair DeSart, for having me. This is such a treat to be with you today. And listen, we're turning the corner in our battle against the coronavirus, and it's such a delight to be able to touch base and talk about the impacts on DuPage County. I want to thank you and all of your colleagues for your work to diligently respond to this crisis and encourage you to continue to lead as we work to get everyone in the county vaccinated. And congratulations on your progress so far. Before I get to those topics, I did want to just give a brief update on my own. This Congress, I was chosen to serve on the Appropriations Committee and Veterans Affairs. On the Appropriations Committee, we just finished the funding request process that will inform our drafting of the fiscal year 22 bills that we will consider this summer. And I believe my team has been in touch with the staff from the county throughout this process, but I want you to know I'm always happy to talk about DuPage County's federal resource needs. Yes, as you know, we did pass the American Rescue Plan in March. And in addition to providing critical relief for individuals, small businesses, child care providers, and local governments, the American Rescue Plan also has some significant healthcare provisions. The bill includes free marketplace health insurance for people who receive unemployment insurance. So if anybody's unemployed at all this year, they can get a plan for $0 a month as a premium price. There's also subsidies for COBRA premiums. And I'm particularly proud that the American Rescue Plan included a 2-year version of my bill, the Healthcare Affordability Act, which expands something called premium tax credits, which lower consumers' out-of-pocket healthcare costs and ensure that everybody has access to high-quality, affordable healthcare. What it literally does is says that nobody would pay more than 8.5% of their income on premiums, which, as you know, in our community represents significant savings. Now, the president has outlined a new legislative package called the American Families Plan, which would make that healthcare policy I described permanent. And I'm committed to working with my colleagues in Congress and in the White House to get that signed into law. Because obviously we know the need for healthcare will not go away even when the pandemic is over. And we need to make these comprehensive healthcare coverage and affordability policies permanent. So one thing that I would ask your help on is encouraging your constituents to visit healthcare.gov to see if they qualify for lower premiums as a result of the American Rescue Plan. We're in the middle of something called a special enrollment period, which means that people can log in, look at the pricing, and sign up today. We've had over 1 million Americans do that over the last 6 weeks. It's extraordinary. And I want to make sure people locally are taking advantage as well. Now, another piece of the American Rescue Plan that I'm sure at this point you're very familiar with, especially with the announcements earlier yesterday, is the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. So yesterday, Treasury released guidance and details for this program. DuPage County is getting $179 million in emergency funds to respond to the coronavirus pandemic. And so the funds can be used to support public health expenditures. It can fund COVID-19 mitigation efforts, medical expenses, behavioral health, and certain public health and safety staff. So if you wanted to do some payroll stuff, you could do that. It also can be used to provide assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or to aid particularly hard-hit industries like tourism, travel, and hospitality. You can use the funds for premium pay for essential workers to offer additional support for those who have and will continue to bear the greatest risks to their health because of their service in critical infrastructure sectors. It can be used to replace lost government revenue to prevent harmful cuts to government services. It can be used to make investments to improve access to clean drinking water, to support wastewater and stormwater infrastructure, which we hear a lot about, and to expand access to broadband. The goal is really to give our community broad flexibility in how you use this funding to meet the needs of the county, okay, and the folks in the community. So please spend it, please. And I hope you'll stay in touch with our office as you interpret what this interim final guidance means. And if you have any questions, we are certainly here to help. I think the last thing, I have some more other things to share. Is that okay?
Please, yeah.
Kind of a comprehensive update here. Okay, so next I wanted to tell you about the jobs plan. So you might have heard the president talk about the American Jobs Plan, which is his, policy to create good jobs and rebuild our country's infrastructure. So we know that throughout our community, we do need significant investments in roads, broadband, water, housing infrastructure to make a full and robust economic recovery from the pandemic. So we've seen, huge commute times, for example, locally, and the American Jobs Plan has over $600 billion to transform the transportation infrastructure, making it more resilient, including $115 billion to repair roads and bridges. Now, there's a lot of my constituents who live in communities that don't have great broadband access. It's not so much a problem in DuPage County, but if you had any little pockets, the American Jobs Plan has $100 billion to bring universal, reliable, high-speed, affordable broadband to every American. And then in terms of drinking water infrastructure, we have $111 billion in investment to ensure clean, safe drinking water is available in every community. So we also are then relatedly working on the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill. And so last December, we extended the existing programs until September of this year. So we really do need to act in order to keep our federal highway and public transportation funds flowing. And so this legislation will include what they call member designated transportation projects. And so those are projects that our office has been considering and working with specific communities throughout the district to advance forward. And we will certainly keep you updated as there are DuPage County communities that are going to be on the receiving end of that funding. But I believe we don't have any countywide projects on that list from my office. You might with one of my other colleagues. Okay. Now, I know that you all know all about the SALT deductions. Oh my gosh, yes. And we are working so hard to get a fix. So Sean Caston and I reintroduced a bill that would restore the SALT deduction for middle-class Illinoisans by increasing the cap from $10,000 to $15,000 for individual filers. It eliminates the marriage penalty to allow jointly filing married couples to deduct up to $30,000, and it adjusts that cap for inflation. So this is really kind of a compromise proposal. In the last Congress, we in the House passed a complete repeal of the SALT cap, but it didn't move forward in the Senate. So we're hoping that there can be some consideration within the American Jobs Plan for a SALT fix, and we will certainly keep you updated on that. The last thing I want to give you an update on is election equipment funding. So obviously we want to make sure that our local election officials have the resources to update outdated voting systems. And the key legislation that would do that is HR 1, the For the People Act. And so that's a big bill that has updates on voting rights and anti-corruption and ethics reforms, but it also has additional grant dollars for states and communities to update their voting systems. And so obviously we've been on high alert to watch for foreign interference. We've seen, for example, our state attorney general be on the receiving end of some ransomware attacks, right? And so we know that our systems are vulnerable. And so we want to make sure that that funding can move along. Today, it's being considered in the Senate. And so we will certainly obviously keep you updated as that can hopefully pass the Senate, but it is not assured. I want to be very clear about that. So, if you are so inclined, maybe let them know how important that is to you. And there's a lot going on. So I'm really happy to answer your questions. Thanks so much for your time and for the invitation to join you today.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And we just heard today from Jean Kazmarek, who is the DuPage County Clerk. Our voting equipment is 20 years old. So we need to invest, $10 or $11 million here in DuPage County before the March 15th, 2022 primary. Right. So that money is very, very, very important to DuPage County. So thank you for being on top of that. I'm going to open it up to the committee. Any questions from any members? Member Chaplin.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks, Congresswoman. What a great presentation. And, what good news for DuPage County, right? I mean, we're getting $179 million. Like we talked about today, we have a great opportunity to make some really good capital improvements and change the way the county does business into the future. So I'm very excited. I'm curious about this Senate Bill 1.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't pass today, right? Because I believe it's being...
So today it's in a committee.
It's a committee, okay.
It will likely pass out of the committee. The problem will come on the floor.
Okay, so what I might suggest is maybe under old or new business, we support Senate Bill 1 as one of our bills and have our lobbyists right away let them know we want this bill to pass. So that might be a thing that we can talk about under old business. So that's what I want to know about that. Yeah, and the American rescue plan. So I also understand there's going to be money for childcare, right? So we're really going to have some really good, great, like I said, great opportunities. And then the jobs bill plan, when do you think that'll come before? And is there a number? I mean, is this something too that we should put on our agenda to support, that this committee might want to say that we support this bill as well?
I expect that the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan will be considered before the end of the year.
Okay.
Timing is unclear because of dynamics in the Senate. If we can be, And so we have not begun the full consideration of the American Jobs Plan. Well, we haven't considered anything with it other than, broadly speaking, what might be included and what might not. We are moving forward more aggressively on the surface transportation aspect, which then might be folded into the American Jobs Plan, or it might be considered separately. It all is depending on the Senate and, what kind of bipartisan progress is possible there and what might have to move through reconciliation, which is that unique process that we use to pass the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Thanks for everything and all your support. We appreciate it.
Other questions? And Member LaPlante, I can't see if your hand is raised or not, so please dive in if you do have a question.
Okay, thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you so much for being with us, Congresswoman Underwood. Our question is, can you please elaborate on the Clean Drinking Water initiative, and specific to what we're going to do about the lead pipes, and if there's any, information that you can share with us on that topic?
Yes. So there would be robust funding that would be offered to clean up drinking water. So we know that over the next 20 years in Illinois, our water infrastructure would need a $21 billion investment in additional funds. And we know that so many of those communities requiring those resources are here in our Northern Illinois region. And so, yes, there would be funding that would be made available to help with pipe replacement. And then also the water treatment facilities, the sewage facilities, the stormwater, right? The whole complete water infrastructure kind of ecosystem, those dollars would be made available. But obviously that is not done yet, right? So this is what we are actively working on over the next several weeks. And so Michelle Thimius is my district director. She is here on the call today and will obviously continue to keep the county, very well informed as, we start to get a better idea of the contours for those programs and the dollars. I think what's going to be key here for this audience is to have a real solid understanding of what the county needs versus individual communities. And as individual communities do have needs, I just want to be candid with you, we need you to help them. Because what we find in some cases is some of these smaller municipalities just don't have the staff resources to aggressively go after the funding the way that they really need to when it becomes available. And so some of these problems are as a result of just, limited staff capacity with the smaller municipalities. And again, that's not a uniquely DuPage problem. That's kind of across the board. But I find that sometimes if it's not, a county pipe, people assume that somebody else has got it handled. And in reality, the constituent doesn't know who's in charge of it. They just know that there's a problem and it's not getting solved. And, we try to just make those resources available and let y'all know, about deadlines and how to apply.
That's wonderful. Thank you. We did just talk about that with, I'm chairing the Community Development Commission. Right. And we talked about very specifically having an initiative where we more aggressively reach out to our municipalities and offer our support so that they know exactly what funds are available and how to apply.
Yes.
We noticed that exactly what you just described, that sort of drop off between understaffed municipalities and counties with such wonderful staffing and resources that we have.
That's right.
So we're definitely moving in that direction to cover that gap. So,
and if I can just editorialize for a moment, the other thing is we also find that there are some entities like park districts that sort of bridge between jurisdictions, right? They can get support from counties, they can get support from townships, they can get support from municipalities. And then they often come to us asking for help directly because they don't know who to turn to. Same thing with like certain businesses, not necessarily the smallest small businesses, but those medium size businesses. And, there's a lot of folks who may not think to call the county, but that you all may be really well positioned to help. And, what I found in particular is that some of the townships that are getting the dollars like don't have a plan for spending them. And so I would really, really suggest that you do some outreach for those townships that are in your service areas, because we know for a fact that some of them are sitting on some CARES Act dollars that we need them to start spending, because the community needs the help, right? We continue to hear from people that are looking for resources. Those dollars are sitting in our community designed to benefit whatever kind of entity is reaching out.
Going along with that, I think moving forward, we as a county are going to have to kind of change the way we did things before, because when we received the CARES Act money, we allocated townships specifically X amount of dollars. We had them paying their food pantries or food banks or whatever nonprofits are in their area of jurisdiction, but they just didn't have the cash on hand to pay them and then be refunded the money through the county. So we're going to have to do things a little bit differently because the townships just don't have that much cash on hand.
Well, some of the townships are going to be or may be getting funds directly from the Treasury. So that's the other change with the American Rescue Plan. In the same way, right, some of the larger communities, not just, Elgin, Aurora, what's the large one in DuPage that would have gotten funding directly from the CARES Act? The framework has changed. And so what I'm really urging you to do is just nudge and check in even more than, reframing the way that the dollars flow, because we just know that some people don't have an idea of how to spend the funds, or people aren't going to them directly. And, the dollars are there.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee?
Congresswoman, PTCN here from the County Board representing the 2nd District. It's good to see you here today. Question on the election side of things. If either House Bill 1 or Senate Bill 1 does not pass, could we utilize any of these funds out of the $179 million to allocate for the elections as a fallback, or are we limited on what those funds can be used for?
Yes, sir. You are limited to how those funds can be used, but I do believe that if those staff are considered like essential workers, that there is an opportunity to move some dollars around that way. I don't think that it would you probably don't have personnel costs that are equal to the cost of new equipment. And so that would be the challenge. But the American Rescue Plan county dollars are more flexible than the CARES Act, but I don't think that you would be able to purchase new voting equipment. But Michelle might be able to follow up with you all directly with like the complete list of things that you can spend those dollars on.
Okay, and a follow-up question on transit. I know we've got the mandate on our trains to have the what's the acronym that we have to have in place as far as
positive control.
Yeah. Thank you. What's the situation on that? Are we going to get the funds to get that in place? And that I know that deadline was extended to accommodate, just the fact that people that municipalities and states that have the funds to implement these mandates. But do you have any update on where we stand with that for transit?
I am not familiar with that policy. Michelle, do you know anything about that?
No, I'm not. I can follow up.
Yeah. If you want to get us that information, we're happy to look into it. And if needed, submit requests as we work on the surface transportation reauthorization.
Wonderful. But one last thing, I know you're huge on healthcare. I'm married to a nurse, so thank you for being a nurse. Autism is the country's #1 disability and #1 diagnosed condition affecting children. It's 1 in 54. President Obama was an advocate when he mandated Medicaid coverage for all kids in the country. But one thing that was left behind, and it's more of a legislative issue, was a federal mandate for autism. So we have 50 states that have passed mandates to cover autism as a coverable expense under health insurance. But we don't have a federal mandate. So that leaves about 40%, 4 out of 10 kids in this country without any insurance. All the ERISAs that are self-insured have to follow a federal mandate and do not have to follow their state plans. So do you see any light at the end of the tunnel for these families with a potential federal mandate covering the ERISAs, the self-insureds?
That is something I also don't know about, but we are also happy to take that and get back to you.
Okay. I'm Governor Pritzker's state chair on autism, so I chair the Autism Task Force for Illinois.
Okay.
for about the last 10 years. And so that's a priority for us. And I represent DuPage on that board. So I just wanted to put on your radar because it's really a federal issue, and hoping we can maybe get it. Now we've got a new administration. We can try to get something past the goal lines for healthcare to protect the 1 in 54 that are diagnosed, about 80,000 kids a year.
Yep, I look forward to following up with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Congresswoman, climate change is a major concern for county residents here in DuPage. Although there are a number of bills pending in Congress, could you speak to the likelihood of passage of any specific measures and what a realistic timetable for action might look like, and also how we can help here locally to encourage Congress to act?
Yes. Okay. So the American Jobs Plan is designed to do this work with an eye towards sustainability and creating clean energy jobs. And so that's something that's very exciting, particularly here in Northern Illinois, where we have so much potential for a thriving clean energy economy. And I think that, we're hearing from the governor that they want to lean in there, and that it could just be transformative in terms of our local economic landscape in terms of job creation. So I'm excited about that. That would be sometime this year. We've also heard the president kind of double down on these ambitious goals around net zero emissions by 2050. And so I think that there will continue to be action taken in order to make that achievable. I have introduced 3 pieces of climate change related legislation that I just want to overview for you at a high level. The first is a bill that we just introduced. It's called the Farmers Fighting Climate Change Act, which is designed to offer some funding from the Department of Agriculture for farmers who take up certain carbon capture or, like cover crops or other kind of sustainable practices on their farms. A lot of them do it because it's good for the soil and it's good for their local ecosystems. Perhaps if they have like well water, they don't want that runoff going into their water source. But we want to scale that up. And so it's not just the people who want to, but that everybody should be doing it. So we have to give them an incentive. That's the Farmers Fighting Climate Change Act. It's bipartisan with Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin. And the Farm Bureau is all over it. They're very excited. The second is the Protecting Moms and Babies Against Climate Change Act, which is to address the impact of extreme heat and air pollution on negative maternal and infant health outcomes. That's part of a larger package that I've introduced called the Momnibus, designed to save moms' lives and end the maternal mortality crisis in this country. And so we're moving forward with that, and it's, getting some buzz. So we'll see what happens in terms of legislative progress. And then finally, we have, I'm missing the name. Michelle, help me. The Climate and Health Protection Act, I think that's what it's called, which is designed to protect the CDC's Office on Climate and Health. It's the only federal office that's there to help states and municipalities prepare for the climate change, the healthcare impacts of climate change, right? So we see, for example, extreme heat and a lot of flooding in our community that are climate change related. That has a direct health linkage. And the one office that's designed to do that work was reorged during the Trump administration. All their staff was let go and they tried to just eliminate it. And so we want to protect that office and the important mission of their work. The Biden administration has been very supportive of this, and our bill offers $15 million of funding and their budget proposed $100 million of funding. So I suspect of the 3 that one is the one that's going to get done the soonest, at least in terms of protecting the funds and protecting the mission of that office. So hopefully there'll be some climate resources just made available to DuPage County, right? So that you can help protect residents' health and public health and safety.
Absolutely. I don't want to take all of your time, but I did want to ask you, what are your main goals for this session of Congress? Are there any specific issues you'd like for the county to weigh in on or be aware of?
Thank you. I would just say with my new committee assignment on appropriations, my goal is to bring resources to our community. You've heard from Bill Foster, I'm sure, over and over and over about how Illinois is a net pay state, right? Like we don't receive nearly as much in terms of federal resources as we contribute in federal taxes. And in particular, when I look to the communities that I represent, there's a lot of folks who don't often even think to apply for federal grants. right? Everything's oriented around Springfield. And so, you know, as these federal dollars are made available, my interest is to make sure that we are connecting DuPage County and all of our municipalities to make sure that they can get these resources, right? And I'm really proud in 2020, as a result of the CARES Act, we brought back $1 billion to support small businesses in our community, $1 billion. And so far this year, we've been in 5 months of 2021, we've already hit the $1 billion mark again. And so, you know, and we know that these dollars are, you know, needed as we're gonna pursue this economic recovery and get folks back to work and, you know, crush the virus. And so that's really what I'm focused on, Dawn. And honestly, I would ask that you just let us know what you need. We want to be partners. We're happy to write letters of support or make a phone call to an agency just to see what's up. We've been going gangbusters with our constituents to try to get them their money back. And we've gotten, you know, millions back for the, you know, individual families as well. But that's really important, particularly at this time with what's going on with our economy.
Congresswoman Lorna Underwood, serving Illinois' 14th Congressional District. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. Thank you. Yes.
I'm so sorry, Sheila Rutledge here.
Hey, Sheila.
I have been listening in, but I just walked into the room, and so I have a couple questions for the—
Oh, absolutely, please.
Thank you so much. First of all, I understand that the PPP money has run out. Is there any movement towards refunding that at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
But if you want to get us kind of a summary of what you think is needed, please do let us know.
Okay.
And if that's just additional dollars for people who've already received funds that want another round of funding, or if it's that there are some people that continue to be locked out that we need to, you know, make some tweaks to make sure that they're eligible and connected with the dollars. Does that make sense? Because as we understand it, the feedback that we're getting is not that small businesses don't have money to open up, it's that they're having some challenges, maybe finding staff, which is a different issue.
Okay, well, I had a CPA tell me that they were still funding like women and minority owned businesses. Is there any truth to that?
PPP, yeah, they have a special carve out for, you know, the micro businesses and some of the, you know, special and disadvantaged owner businesses. Yes, ma'am.
And then the other question I had is about rental tenant or landlord assistance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so those dollars, the way that the dollars are moving this time is different, that it's not just going to the landlord first. Under the American Rescue Plan, some dollars are going to be made available to that renter first, which is a significant change. And the way that it's flowing are through local agencies. Michelle, do you know who the DuPage County agency is?
Okay, $21 million in rentals.
I think
they're
answer my question.
Sorry, Michelle.
Yeah. I think, are you running your program through the state? Is that correct?
Right. For the bill that passed in December, the $27 million we got, we're partnering with the Illinois Housing Development Authority. But the American Rescue Plan, the county is getting about $21 million in emergency housing. And I don't think there's been a decision how they're going to allocate that because it is different.
It is different in terms of the eligibility.
Right.
So once more information comes out, we're going to be socializing that to make sure that, you know, impacted individuals and families know how to access those dollars. You know, because we know that there are going to be some folks in crisis. I mean, just absolute crisis once the eviction moratoriums expire, even if you discount what's going on in the legal system around even the legality of those moratoriums. We know that there's a lot of families who just won't be able to pay the cumulative amount as soon as those bills start coming in. And so we do not want a huge influx of people falling into homelessness, right? And so this is something that's really important and I know is relevant in our community.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Always good to see you.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from members?
The only thing that
I can just chime in, I just wanted to give a quick update, which is a little bit of a spoiler for my Tuesday Economic Development Committee meeting, but I wanted you to know how we are currently priming the pump for these dollars. And once we get these Treasury guidelines, it's going to be huge. And some of the things we're looking to do is restart the Reinvest DuPage program, which I think will be great for businesses coming to DuPage. We're looking to coordinate with all of these collar counties to make sure that we have a great regional plan, which I know the chairman is really involved in. We're also looking to do a marketing plan with our DCVB to make sure we've got tourist dollars coming in. So we're going to make the best use of this money, I promise you, and we'll have some really exciting programs coming out of DuPage.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Take good care of yourselves, everybody. I look forward to seeing you around town. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, next on the agenda, we have an update from Springfield from Cheryl Marquet.
I think member DeCiani wanted to go first and talk about the two bills that.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Did you get it? You all got an email, I believe, yesterday for the two bills that it's Member DeCiani's initiative to support in Springfield. Go ahead, Member DeCiani. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Dessart. I appreciate your leadership and allowing me to speak. I brought this up in County Board. These are two big bills that are important, especially during COVID, for families with special needs. For those that don't understand, if you have a special needs child between the ages of 18 and 21, up until your 22nd birthday, those are called transition years. Those are years where you're working on life skills, working on vocational skills, working on, being released out into society if you have a disability. And for many families, we call it the black hole, because after that, there's really not a whole lot of support for our kids. And it's a fearful time for our families with two big issues. As soon as you turn 22, those services go away. So if you're 22 on September 18th, you're done for the year. If you're 21 years old, turning 22. So House Bill 40 solves that problem and allows that young person to continue throughout the school year and finish like everybody else. And then House Bill 2748, by the way, House Bill 40 just cleared the Senate Education Committee. Joe Molson and I are watching it closely unanimously. So, and Senate President Harmon gave me a thumbs up on both bills. Senator Harmon's a dear friend and an advocate, was the chief co-sponsor of Breonna's law back in 2008. So a dear friend. But 2748, what that does is really addresses COVID. For the last year, these kids have been home, no therapy, no ABA, no speech, no language, all the things that they would normally get at school to make accommodations, job training, life skills, nothing. This would give them an extra year to get all that they missed this past year, to get that back. So again, COVID has been very tough on all kids, but especially people with disabilities. They get a lot of accommodations that they can't get in their home at school, and this would give them that extra year to make up for what they lost with COVID. So I'm asking for the Legislative Committee and under Chairwoman Dessart's direction to support both of these if we can slip them. I've already personally supported them as the chair of the Autism Task Force and the people that I represent, over 30,000 kids with autism and that are students in the state of Illinois. So it's important. And again, these families will greatly benefit by that extra year, and also being able to finish the school year, which has been a battle for us for many years. So thank you, Chairwoman. But that's the kind of the synopsis of both of those bills. And one's already cleared, so that's great. And then we're just waiting for the other one, hopefully, to shepherd its way as well. So, but we appreciate everybody's support.
Thank you, Member DeCiani. So we're kind of looking for the appetite of this committee to see if this is something we can support. If we do, we'll have our lobbyists in Springfield do witness slips for this officially. Just kind of maybe a raise of the hand if you support it, because I certainly do. All right, we've got consensus. So Cheryl Marquet, if we can go ahead and have Chip slip both of these, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Sure. And I just have a really quick update. I've been sending out every Monday a list of the bills you've taken positions on. There's 3 weeks left in the spring session, so going by fast. Member Krajewski has been a force of nature, as you know, on the puppy mill bill. And we got it out of the House. it's kind of hit a brick wall in the Senate. We're having a hard time getting it assigned to a committee. We know if we get it assigned, we've already got the roll call to get it passed. So it's just Senate President Harmon's got to let it go, and maybe Pete can call him. But that's the one issue we're having right now. So Animal Services has got Facebook going, all their phone trees, because for years we couldn't get it to pass the House, and now we had a new speaker and we got it out of the House. So now we have a new Senate leader. We're not, so we're close, but that's clearly a priority. Working on House Bill 1711 and House Bill 572, which was a financing mechanism. The issue is the puppy mills hired 40 new lobbyists last week. Oh, because they only had to hire them for 3 weeks. So they, you can do that, right? So it's been a battle. So Chip making inroads, Brian's making inroads, and all of you have called. So we're doing the best we can, and we're hopeful.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that real quickly, Cheryl, Brian had called me and said that Senator Laura Ellman was kind of on the fence, and he wanted a solid yes. So I reached out to Senator Ellman, and she gave a solid yes to that, to 1711. So that was one more yes. Now, if we could just get Harmon to, do something with it, I think we have the votes to pass it in the Senate.
Yeah, I think you're right, 100%. The roll call is done. So we're working on that. They just kind of started the budget negotiations, believe it or not. LGDF is probably one of our biggest concerns. We get $10 million a year. We're probably going to get a cut, but we don't know yet. ISACO is working on that a lot. Linda Zerwin's working on the 911 extension of the surcharge. We've got to have that $1.50 on the phone bills, which actually the phone companies don't like. They'd like it to go away because they get criticized for it. But if that went away, we'd have no 911 dispatch in the county. So that's a big priority. Leader Willis is, well, I guess she's Representative Willis now, but she's been our leader on this issue. And she's been really supportive and trying to get that bill through. Redistricting is still up in the air. We don't know. It looks like they're going to be using the American Community Survey data. So I don't see them changing the July 1 date. I don't think they're going to do it. They're not going to move the primary. There just doesn't seem to be an interest because they have to get their maps done by June 30th. So we'll just keep monitoring that. We've raised it with our legislators so they know, we're concerned about having a good, appropriate data source to draw the county boundaries. So that's still moving on. We haven't seen a trailer bill on the Safety Act. I think there's going to be just some minor technical changes because they drafted it in such a hurry. I've heard there's a lot of drafting errors, but I haven't seen anything yet. So of course, we're following that closely for JPS. And other than that, I think most of the bills are listed here. A lot of them have fallen off. They're still trying to negotiate a clean energy bill. Member Chaplin probably has a better update, but the unions have a bill, the governor has a bill, environmentalists have a bill, ComEd has a bill, and it's just one of those things where you've got so many parties and you're just going to negotiate, down to the wire to try and get a compromise. So I don't know if they'll get it done. They're talking now, they might get it done in veto session and have to work over the summer, but that's something that, committee's been supportive of. And we're following as well. The only wrinkle on it is a lot of counties are starting to contact us, especially downstate counties, because some of these clean energy bills put a lot of stringent requirements on the siting of wind and solar facilities, which, wind doesn't really impact us. We don't have the land for that, but they don't want, obviously, any restrictions on county or municipal zoning authority. But at the same time, just talking to our staff, if you don't put some, kind of restrictions in there, then the facilities will never get cited, so there's kind of that balance between what's an appropriate limitation on your authority to cite solar and wind, versus not having any limitations. So ISACO is kind of negotiating that as well, because that's kind of becoming a big issue as part of the clean energy bill.
You're muted, Chair, to start.
My apologies. There's somebody mowing like right outside my window. Do we have any old business? Oh, I said thank you, Cheryl, very much for that update. Any old business? New business? Member Chaplin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Dessart. Yeah, I would like to propose that we support Senate Bill 1. I think it's really important that we support it for election funding, right? Election equipment funding. We need the equipment. There's a lot of good things in Senate Bill 1 besides the funding for the election. So I don't know if we can do that today or if we have to bring it back, but I think the sooner that we can, if there's consensus to support this, I think the better that we get our lobbyists down there letting people know that DuPage County is in support of this bill.
Absolutely. I totally agree. What's the process, Cheryl?
Can we vote on it in concept or what, Nick?
I think that it would be safer to bring it back as an amendment to the legislative agenda.
Okay. So he's saying, and I wasn't sure because I heard the congresswoman say House Bill 1, but I've also heard the clerk say Senate Bill 1. So maybe it's the same bill. I don't know.
Yes, it is. It's the same bill. One's in the House, one's in the Senate. The House, I believe it passed.
The House already passed.
Okay. Yeah, I think our state's attorney is saying I just need to bring it back and put it on the agenda to technically vote on it. So I can do that. It's not going to go anywhere in 2 weeks because this is like the longer term issue. So I can certainly.
Well, we just voted. Well, do we have to bring back out those two bills that Pete did? Were those on the agenda or no?
Yeah, we did it for the autism bills. We just kind of got a consensus and then rolled with it.
Yeah. Can we do? But just because I'm saying essence of, I mean, if we have to bring it back in 2 weeks, maybe we do, or maybe we just bring it back under county board or something to get it done. But I think it's really important to support it. So however we have to do it is fine.
I prefer to say
so, I'm not necessarily saying that it's impossible for you guys to vote on it now and, approve supporting it. However, I'm just saying to be safest, it would be safest to have it on an agenda if you're going to be voting on it to support.
Okay, so to be safe, then we have to bring the autism bills back to vote on it as well in 2 weeks?
So I'm not exactly familiar with the procedure for, I believe you slipped it in. Is that what it was called earlier?
Right, I think
that there are different procedures there. No, I'm not.
I don't know why they would be. I don't know why they would be different. It's the same thing. We're approving the board to give our lobbyists authorization to lobby in support of a bill. Right. Actually putting in witness slips is more of an act. Is even a bigger action. That's actually an action by board members and our lobbyists doing that. So I don't know why there's a difference, but however we have to do it. I just think this is very important.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you want to take the formal step of amending the federal agenda, you want to take a vote, which is maybe different. I didn't amend the state agenda. We just are like flipping bills because the problem with legislative committee, especially Springfield, I get an hour notice, right, of a posting. And I sometimes don't even have time to call Chair Dessart with Chairman Cronin. I just have to make a decision because it's like now. And so it's a little bit kind of different, I guess, but
So that would be the difference there. If the committee is intending to amend its legislative agenda to support this bill formally.
But you don't have to technically probably amend the federal agenda.
Yeah, if they're not amending that, then you can go ahead and support that.
Okay, yeah. We won't technically amend the federal agenda. We'll just move forward. And I did send copies of the other two bills, so you had it. I don't have a copy of HR, and it could be 1,000 pages, and it might be a great bill, and that's fine. But I haven't read it. I knew it was in these two, because I was able to at least send it out. But I see what he's saying. But it's half a dozen together, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, if you want to send out the bill, I mean, I guess we could wait a week. Maybe like I said, we can bring it back in. Whatever, or have if send a copy of the bill. Maybe if we have to do a special, I don't know, but I do think it's important. I want to make sure it's done right. So, however, send out a copy of the bill to everybody, and then we can go from there. I suppose.
And we could actually have legislative committee whenever. It doesn't have to be a special call, so we can have it next Tuesday as well if you want to do that.
Okay, great.
I'm concerned if we have to bring the autism bill back for Springfield, that it would be 2 weeks till we have our next legislative committee, but there's only 3 weeks left of the spring session.
Right, yeah, the bills are done. I think the one bill, House Bill 40, that's sailing through, there's no opposition. It's the other bill, the 2758, that's having a hard time. But I think with the federal bill, you probably would want to draft a letter to our delegation or some type of formal communication to let them know we're supporting it. And I can certainly tell Bill Viney today, but you probably do want some type of communication, right? To our delegation to let them know you're supporting HR1 and SR1.
Yeah, and SB1, yeah. Yep. Okay.
So whatever he thinks we need to do is fine with me, yeah.
Okay, we'll talk after the meeting, Cheryl, to find out what we need to do. Member Chavez.
Thank you. This was actually a really valuable conversation because part of my attendance here today is to figure out how best to support the information that I'm getting in economic development and some bills that may need some support for tourism, how to bring those to your attention. So I was going to have Beth Marchetti at DCVB put together a summary of some of the bills that she needs support on. What is the best way for me to kind of push this through to this committee, for us to talk about it in economic development and then push it on through Cheryl and then prioritize those? Or
well, there's only 3 weeks left in the session, so she should have sent me those bills 4 months ago. I mean, like right now we're at the end. So
okay, so we're kind of at a tough spot right now for her. Okay, she just brought it to my attention today, so I just didn't know.
If there's still moving, I would say let's try and, I don't know what we have next Tuesday. Do we have ad hoc rules? Do we have redistricting? Do we have?
I only have one ad hoc, so I can make time. Yeah.
So I think we can, it sounds like we need to have a legislative committee next Tuesday, and any economic development bills, please send them to me, because I need to just put them on the agenda as an action item versus a discussion item. And I can put the 2 Autism bills, I can put BEST bills, and I can put the 2 federal bills.
Great.
That way they're all listed as an action item, and that makes it take pretty more comfortable, you know, versus just, but I mean, a lot of times I do have to just ask for direction just because stuff moves so quick in Springfield. Like, this is what I have to do, you know?
Right. And if you email, member Chavez, if you email Cheryl those bills, if you could just copy me on it, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Of course.
Member Renahan.
All right. Hi there, everyone. So I think this kind of highlights something for anybody who's on the rules committee. I think we need to be consistent on how we go forward on approving things, because it does trouble me. You know, we're all in favor. We know something we're all going to be in favor of with Pete's thing. We all said yes, and it went through. And then there was something that we know that maybe some members might not be in favor of, and there was a little here. So I would just like, you know, if whoever's on rules committee, this is a little sidestep, but I mean, I just think we need to be consistent going forward. I also kind of wanted to address what Member Chavez had said about, you know, how do we bring things forward? You know, I appreciate, Chair Desart, that you are opening this committee up to having more than just a handful of ideas. When I had attended legislative in the past couple of years and had submitted ideas, I was told we stick to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 things. And so I do appreciate your opening this up and letting our committees kind of feed, you know, maybe we're late this year on some things, but, you know, Member Chavez, it's different than it has been in previous years. So I think I like how you're thinking. And yeah, if we could just get some consistency on rules, I think that would be very helpful.
All right, thank you. Any other new business? All right, then I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And a roll call, please, Teresa.
Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Chair Desart.
Aye.
Member LaPlante. Member Renahan.
Aye.
Member Spellman. Vice Chair Zay.
All right, thank you all for a great discussion. I had fun today. Thank you.